Back from the break. Now, the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana has expressed a concern about the uneven distribution of resources in the Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2 program during a press conference in Accra. Executive Director of the association, Bismarck Norte, said most of its members have yet to benefit from second phase of the program, which was designed to build on the successes of the initial program while addressing its limitations. The peasant farmers say the current drought in northern Ghana could lead to food shortage and possible crisis if urgent interventions are not made by government and other stakeholders. They have also complained about not benefiting from the One Village, One Dam policy and other flagship government programs aimed at improving agriculture.
Issue faced by farmers all over the country, especially in the northern and middle belt, is the lack of rainfall, which has caused many crops to wilt. For centuries, the Ghanaian farmer have relied on rains to nourish our crops, cultivate various types of crops, and to sustain the food security of the country. However, this year, the rains have failed and has put us in a state which we believe is quite close to the 1983 drought. And we know how devastating that effect was. The extended dry spells have left thousands of acres parched up, crops stunted, and are at the brink of crop failure in several farming communities in the Bono East, Upper West, Northern, Northeast, parts of Volta and Oti regions. In fact, just recently, my fellow farmers from Greater Accra and even Eastern even confirmed that even the rains have not been fair to them. The situation is quite painful, considering the hefty amount of money that was spent on the One Village, One Dam policy and the Palugu Multipurpose Dam. We all remember the famous $11.2 million that was paid for the dam for no work done. These dams would have served as an alternative source of water for our farmers in these hard times, but they currently remain pits and holes whilst we the farmers suffer. Whilst we hope for improvement in the precipitation conditions, we wish to remind government of the emergence of climate change, of which many countries are putting in place measures to mitigate the impacts. Burkina Faso is a typical example, and we all know the kind of work that they've done regarding their irrigation systems. And Ghana cannot afford to always depend on the mercy of the nature to determine our food production. So we therefore call on government to take immediate steps to address this particular crisis. Specifically, we are making 4 appeals to government. One is the provision of emergency relief. We urge government to provide immediate water supplies, including pumping machines for farmers who are close to water bodies.
So let's talk about the solutions that could avert this possible food crisis situation. Joining me now is Asare Ohene Bediako, who is Business Development Manager of New Age Agri Solutions Limited. Asare, grateful for joining us here. Now, let's start it off in this manner. You operate in, the Upper West region, in an area which is probably the biggest, rice cultivation area or cereal cultivation area of Ghana. These are the challenges. What's the situation in where you operate? Are there droughts?
Yeah, good afternoon, Kojo. Let me say another good afternoon to your viewers and listeners. Yes, Kojo, there is drought. As farmers and other value chain actors, we have done our part. And we have plowed our lands, we have seeded. But at this point, what we are experiencing is that we are experiencing the drought and we are at the mercy of the rains.
Now, how long has this drought situation persisted and how are farmers like yourself handling it?
Kojo, it has been intermittent. The planting window of the north is from early June to the end of July. What has happened this year is that from the beginning of June, we had some good rains, which aided the farmers to do their seeding and other cultural practices that was necessary. However, towards the end of June through to July, up to now, we are experiencing some critical period of rainfall, and it's been a problem for the farmers.
So,
Just to add, as we speak today, there are some areas in the north that have experienced up to 4 weeks continuous drought. As we speak, there are some farms that have reached their permanent wilting point. That is to say that even if from today we get perfect rainfall up to the end of the season, there are crops that we have lost completely. There are some crops, especially maize, that in some areas have reached their tasseling stage. That is one of the most critical stages of the growth of the crops. It can be likened to pregnancy in women. And at that point, that is where you need to get your nutrition and your water requirements right. This is the case, the rain is not coming, and your guests can only be good as mine.
Can it mean then that, say, 10 acres of farmland could go waste because of the drought?
Oh, even more. Even more. As of last week, we were doing some tour in the Upper West region, and you realize that the areas that are undergoing this stress is not 10 acres, 20 acres, a matter of 10. Like I mentioned, the enclave in the Upper West region happens to be the biggest maize growing area. And I can tell you that it is running into thousands of farmlands going into waste.
Wow. So break it down for me then. What will be the impact on bags of maize that we could have possibly gotten at the end of the harvesting period that we may not get because of this drought?
To be blunt with you, we have some impending food security crisis on our hands. And the loud silence is deafening. You know, where you have crops that are struggling in this manner, what it means is that automatically your yield will be affected. Like I mentioned, some crops have already reached their permanent wilting point, meaning that we have already lost those crops. The ones that are at the critical stages of their development, that are not getting the adequate rainfall, what it means is that automatically it is taking a notch on your yield. Okay. So for a matter of effect on the crops, yes, it is having a very serious toll on the crop, and also it is going to affect our yield at the end of the season. When yields are affected, what it means is that the food that will be available on the market for consumers like you and I will also, it means that this is where the demand and supply will play out, and you will see the food prices skyrocketing. Wow. And even looking at our current situation where the prices are not affordable, imagine where we are going to get reduced yield and going into next year. Should brace ourselves.
So when do we expect this food shortage, possible food shortage, to take effect?
Looking at the seasons, what it means is that now, if we are speaking of the north, the yield will start coming in from December thereabouts. So from December up to the first half of next year, that's from December up to June, July next year. Unless something significant happens in the major season of the south for next year. That is the period of March to June, July, where the major season will start harvesting. Other than that, then we have a serious problem at hand.
So the only possible savior should be that we have good season for the major season down south.
Exactly so. You know, the south is also in their minor season currently, and the same problem that is happening in the north is also happening in the south. We are in the middle of August already, and farmers in the south have not seeded yet. If we cross this month, what it means is that the season is almost gone, and it should tell you the sort of crisis we have on our hands.
Well, you see, all this while we've been talking about rain-fed agriculture and how we have to change from relying on rainfall for that. What must change about Ghana's farming that hasn't, happened? And what must happen so that we will not be bothered by dry periods?
My brother, to be honest, we have to be intentional about our agriculture. We have to be intentional about our irrigation. We have to be, we have to have serious and, appropriate plan for irrigation for agriculture. Because don't ask me about one village, one dam, because of course, if it was working, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Okay. So we need to have the right plan. We need to do the right investment. But look, for Christ's sake, we are in 2024. We cannot be looking into the skies for rain for agriculture. That cannot be our only solution. Okay. And this is the time that I think the government, the various stakeholders should have a relook at our irrigation plan and devise the necessary plans and technology to ensure that we are able to, avoid some of this situation.
Asari Bediako, I'm grateful to you for your time here. Asari,
thank you for having me.
Is Business Development Manager with the New Age Agri Solutions Limited.